Hello, this is PJ CAPOSEY, Superintendent of Schools for Meridian 223. I have constructed a four-part series in which I will discuss things that parents should know about social media and how their students are utilizing it. The series is broken down into four parts. Part 1 is 5 things that your students want you to know about social media. Part 2 is 5 things your students don't want you to know about social media. Part 3 is 5 things that your students may not even know themselves. And then Part 4 will be about the things that I would like you to know. My exploration into trying to figure out how to best communicate social media issues to our parents has been one of the last 10 years. I have embraced social media on a personal and professional level and have been a big advocate for it. However, I am very aware of the issues that it brings forward in schools. And so trying to work through and figure out how I can best communicate to parents about the issues in a way that they can actually engage in a conversation with their students. So instead of having a long 45-minute presentation in the gym, which would probably be sparsely attended, thought that the best way for me to get this information across is to construct a 4-part series of videos, of which I'm thankful that you're watching. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone of what our mission and our vision are. So obviously you can read the slide in front of you, but our goal in doing this is to provide a service to our community, as we know that social media is part of the world that we live in and a part of the world that our students live in. In order for us to be as effective as we possibly can, we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to not only promote the use of social media so that students are using it wisely and effectively, but also be a partner to our parents so that you know what is possibly taking place with your students, or how to have some tips and techniques as to if you are not familiar with technology, or even if you are, on things that we think that you can do to help better the communication with your student regarding their use of social media. Thank you for listening to part 4 of a 4-part series on how parents can better interact with their students regarding social media. Part 1 of the series was what students want you to know. Part 2 is what students don't want you to know. Part 3 was what students may not know themselves. And Part 4 is selfish. It's what I want you to know. I did not intend on doing this section, but I learned so much in going through this process. I thought it was healthy to share with others. So I have 6 quick tips that I would hopefully you guys learn. If you guys are listening to this for the first time and don't know where to find the other 3, you can either find them at my personal YouTube page or the district Facebook page, or most likely in the email wherever you clicked the link to get this. So the first thing that I want you to think about is that there's actual neuroscience behind why we like social media so much. And so when I say we, this is not just about your kids, it's about us too. And so there's a chemical reaction that happens in your brain. The good part of this is that we can start to understand some of the cycles. The bad part is we understand the impact it has on our kids social emotionally. And so social media has the opportunity to build us up, but it also has the ability to tear us down. And so as I said in one of the earlier videos, our kids understand that social media can be a really dark place for them. And they are willing to take that risk because they love it so much and it's part of their life. So as a parent, I want you to understand that the attention-seeking behavior they have in seeking likes and thumbs ups and affirmations on whatever platform they're using is normal. The brain is releasing dopamine, and that's why they're doing it. But it's just as real when they're not getting the attention they crave, the impact it has on their self-esteem. So this goes back to our the discussion about screen time and monitoring what they're doing on social media, and then reminding them that social media is part of their real life, but not entirely their real life. And so the lesson from that to me is that really social media just amplifies everything. And so the kids were really kind of incredible in explaining this to me, is that if you're a good kid, you're pretty much going to be a good kid the majority of the time on social media. And if you're a good kid when you're in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, that means that you're making good decisions the majority of the time. That doesn't mean you're perfect. And so whatever you are is going to be amplified. They were also really quick to share that the kids that consistently make bad decisions make extremely bad decisions on social media, such as posting illegal or inappropriate content. So social media, when we aim our venom at social media as like the root of all evil, the kids are very quick to point out that it's not the root. It's just amplifying and showing an extreme version of who we are. So if we're happy all the time, we're going to be extraordinarily happy. If we're a little depressed, we might show as extraordinarily depressed. If we make good decisions, we'll make majority of good decisions there too. So whatever behaviors we're seeing from our kids or whatever behaviors we've learned to expect from them in real life, we should learn to expect similar behaviors on social media. This was really, really interesting, is that one of the kids said to me, hey, Mr. C, I appreciate you doing this, and I think our parents will like it a lot, but at the end of the day, as soon as they catch on, there'll be something new. And that's so tremendously insightful and correct. So we're never going to out-tech our kids. They're always going to be a step ahead. And so my overall thesis after going through all of this is that we can teach all these little techniques about looking for your kids, going on incognito and putting up firewalls in your own house in terms of your Wi-Fi router. At the end of the day, the kids are always going to be a step ahead. And so the best thing that we can do is just engage in real conversation with them and try to parent them the same way that we don't have control over them when they're junior and senior in high school going to parties, is the same way we don't have full control of them on social media. It's just much younger that they get introduced to social media and a much wider range of audience. But the same way we try to connect and build and leverage our relationship to help influence them in a positive way is the same way that we need to go about it when we're working through. There is a very real possibility that your kids don't want you to engage with them on social media. They don't want you liking their pictures. They don't want your cute comments underneath. And they don't want you, in some cases, to either follow them or be their friend. While I think I'm going to have certain rules in my house as my kids approach the social media age, and where they're going to be on my phone, my device, so I'm going to be your friend. That's just the way I think I might be. What I learned going through this process is that it has nothing to do with you, really, why they don't want to be their friends. But it's the same reason that when they're playing basketball at the park, that they might not want you there. Or when they're playing video games with your friends and they're having a sleepover, they don't want you sitting in the same room. This is their community and their private place, even though it's like the most public place ever. For them, it's private. And so by you being a friend or by whatever is intrusive to them. Again, this is not my recommendation that you listen to them. This is my recommendation that your ego listens to them when they tell you that, and then you still do whatever you want to do and what you think your best decision as a parent is. But from an ego standpoint, it doesn't mean they hate you or don't trust you or think that you're going to embarrass them. It's that they want some private place to themselves. This came across loud and clear to me, and I think I knew it and maybe forgot it, or knew it and just didn't realize it until I had the conversations with kids. Social media is super important to them. Like, it's vitally important to them. That this is their life. So as we try to put restrictions on it, understand that we're doing that to something that has become vitally important to them. And so I think that we all talk about kids these days with air quotes, right? And so that kids would rather be grounded than take their social media away. And so I just think that, like, when we say stuff like that, we actually have to think about it. So the same way that we felt when our parents grounded us is the way that our kids feel about social media. Our freedom of being outside, playing, interacting is their freedom of connecting, interacting with their friends on social media. So it doesn't mean that anything in terms of what we need to do or what I want you to do or what I recommend to you doing, but it is just super important to them. And so as a parent, I think if I told you arbitrarily, hey, your kids are going to spend 60 to 90 minutes a day doing this, and it's really important to them, you would say in a vacuum, well, I really want to learn about why it's important to them and support them through that. And that's what social media has become. And that's where our world has become. And it's kind of our job as parents to navigate through and help figure that out. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is that the best policing of social media is a good relationship with your kid. Having actual conversations about them, about social media with them, about their behaviors on social media. So when I talk to kids, they basically, they know the three things we typically tell them, which is what you post is forever, that your future employer or colleges are going to see what you're doing, so be smart about it, and don't be mean to other people because no one deserves to be cyberbullied. That's the three things that I typically heard from kids in terms of what their parents are sharing with them, and those things are fine. But that's not about connecting and figuring out why they like certain things or what they're learning about themselves through their interactions and all those deep kind of meta conversations. That to me, after interacting with a bunch of kids about social media, is truly how we're going to cross this divide of this is where they are being raised in the world that they live in. And it's a little bit different than the world we lived in. We have to cross that chasm. I think the only way we can do it is through having conversation. I sincerely appreciate taking time to watch this. Hopefully it was helpful. I would love any feedback that you have, and I would love if you actually took the time to sit down and watch this with your kids and have a real conversation about what they're doing on social media, as it is a vitally important part of their life to them. Thank you, and make it a great day.